My parents asked me to legally change my name because my career is overshadowing my sister. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but real quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. I'm Jennifer, 28F, and I'm still trying to process a conversation I had with my parents last weekend that left me completely stunned. For context, I've been working in marketing for about 6 years now. I started at entry level and worked my way up to a senior position at a well-respected agency in Chicago. I've built a solid reputation in the industry, won a few awards for campaigns I've led, and recently started getting speaking invitations at industry conferences. My younger sister, Emily, 26F, graduated with the same marketing degree from the same university as me 2 years ago. She's been struggling to find steady work in the field, bouncing between temp positions and freelance gigs. I've tried to help her by reviewing her portfolio, connecting her with contacts, and even recommending her for positions at my company when appropriate openings came up. Last Sunday, my parents invited me over for dinner. I thought it was just a regular family gathering, but after my sister left early for a friend emergency, my parents sat me down for what they called an important discussion about the family. My dad started by saying they were concerned about Emily and how discouraged she's been about her career. My mom jumped in to say they appreciated my success but were worried about how it was affecting my sister's self-esteem. I nodded along, thinking they were going to ask me to mentor Emily more closely or help her find a job. Then they dropped the bomb. "We think it would be best if you changed your name professionally," my mom said. "Your sister is trying to establish herself in the same industry, and having a successful sister with the same last name is overshadowing her efforts." I thought they were joking at first. They weren't. "It's really holding Emily back," my dad continued. "Potential employers look her up and find you instead. They have expectations she can't meet. It's not fair to her." My mom added, "It would just be a small sacrifice on your part, but it would make such a difference for your sister." I was speechless. They were seriously asking me to change my legal name, the name I've built my entire career and reputation on, because my sister is struggling to find work in the same field. When I finally found my voice, I told them that was completely unreasonable. I suggested that Emily could use her middle name or a professional pseudonym if she was concerned about confusion. My parents dismissed this idea, saying Emily shouldn't have to change her identity just because I got there first. The conversation deteriorated from there. They accused me of being selfish and not caring about my sister's future. I tried to explain that changing my name would be professionally disruptive and potentially damaging to my career, but they wouldn't listen. My dad eventually said, "This is exactly the problem. You're always putting yourself first." I left feeling completely blindsided and hurt. I've always had a good relationship with my parents and have tried to be supportive of Emily, but this request seems so far beyond reasonable that I'm questioning everything. I haven't spoken to Emily about this yet. I don't know if this was her idea or if my parents came up with it themselves. I'm not sure how to approach her without making the situation worse. I also haven't responded to my parents' multiple texts asking if I've thought about what they said. Am I crazy, or is their request as unreasonable as I think it is? How do I navigate this without destroying my relationship with my family or compromising my professional identity? Update. It's been about 3 weeks since my last post, and I wanted to update everyone on what's happened. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your validation helped me realize I wasn't overreacting, and your advice gave me the courage to investigate further. After taking a few days to process my parents' request, I decided to have an honest conversation with Emily. I invited her to lunch at a neutral location, planning to approach the subject gently. Before I could even bring it up, she asked if I was still being difficult about the name thing. That confirmed she knew about our parents' request, and apparently they had presented me as the unreasonable one. I calmly explained why changing my name wasn't feasible and asked why she felt it was necessary. Her response shocked me. "It's not fair that we have the same name," she said. "Every time I apply for a job, they Google me and find you instead. Then they expect me to be at your level." When I suggested she could use her middle name professionally, she became upset, saying she shouldn't have to change her identity just because I got lucky in the industry. This echoed my parents' words almost exactly, which struck me as odd. The conversation turned tense, and Emily let slip something concerning, "It's not my fault if people assume I have the same experience as you when they see our name." That comment raised immediate red flags. After we parted ways, I decided to do some investigating. I searched for Emily's professional profiles and portfolio online. What I found left me feeling physically ill. Her LinkedIn profile listed experiences that mirrored mine but with slightly altered company names and dates. Her portfolio included several projects that were unmistakably mine, with just minor modifications. She had even created a professional email address that was easily confused with mine. Think first initial last name versus first name last initial. Most alarmingly, I found she had been using my name in her email signature and resume, with her contact information. It wasn't just confusion happening, she was deliberately impersonating me. I spent the next day gathering evidence, taking screenshots, and documenting everything. Then I consulted with an attorney who specializes in identity theft and professional reputation. He confirmed that Emily's actions constituted fraud and identity theft, and advised me on my options. With this information, I scheduled a meeting with my parents. I went to their house and laid out everything I had discovered. I showed them the side-by-side comparisons of my work and Emily's portfolio. I showed them emails where she had signed my full name. I showed them job applications where she had listed my accomplishments as her own. Their reaction was not what I expected. Rather than being shocked or disappointed in Emily, they became defensive. "She's just trying to get her foot in the door," my dad argued. "It's not like she was stealing your identity to commit crimes." "But she was committing fraud," I countered. "She was lying to potential employers and clients." My mom started crying, saying I was trying to ruin Emily's chance at a career. When I pointed out that Emily was ruining my professional reputation, my mom suggested that I could afford to share some success with my sister. I was floored. It became clear that they not only knew about what Emily was doing, they had been encouraging it. The name change request wasn't to help Emily establish her own identity. It was because my existence under my own name was complicating her deception. I left their house and immediately took action. 1. I sent Emily a formal cease and desist letter drafted by my attorney, clearly outlining the legal consequences if she continued to impersonate me or use my work. 2. I contacted LinkedIn and other professional platforms to report the fraudulent profiles. 3. I reached out to my network to clarify that any recent applications or communications they might have received from Jennifer last name should be verified directly with me. 4. I set up Google Alerts for variations of my name to monitor for further impersonation. Emily responded with a flurry of angry texts, accusing me of sabotaging her career out of jealousy. My parents called multiple times, leaving voicemails alternating between pleading and scolding. I've been keeping my distance while I figure out next steps. This situation has been incredibly painful. I never imagined my family would expect me to sacrifice my professional identity, or worse, support outright fraud, for Emily's benefit. I'm heartbroken that my parents would enable and encourage this behavior rather than helping Emily build her own legitimate career. I'm meeting with HR at my company tomorrow to explain the situation and protect myself professionally. I'm also considering whether I need to take further legal action, though I'm reluctant to pursue anything that could result in serious consequences for my sister despite what she's done. Thank you again for your support. I'll update if there are any significant developments. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and a lot has happened. First, thank you all for your support and advice. It's helped me navigate this situation when I felt completely lost. After sending the cease and desist letter, I hoped Emily would realize the seriousness of her actions and stop the impersonation. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Emily called me in tears, not because she was sorry, but because she was panicking about a job she'd recently been offered. She had interviewed using my credentials and portfolio, and they were expecting that level of expertise. She begged me to help her just this one time by either coaching her through the first few projects or, I still can't believe she suggested this, ghostwriting her work until she caught up to my level. I refused and reminded her of the legal consequences if she continued down this path. She hung up on me. The next day, I received an email from a creative director at a mid-sized agency in our city. He wanted to clear up some confusion, because they had recently hired Emily believing she was responsible for a campaign I had led last year. When Emily showed up for her first day, it was immediately apparent she didn't have the skills or experience represented in her portfolio. This was exactly what I had feared. My professional reputation was being damaged. I thanked him for reaching out and briefly explained the situation, emphasizing that I was taking steps to address the impersonation. He was understanding and even offered to forward me any other instances they discovered of my work being misrepresented. That same week, I met with HR and my direct supervisors at my company. I showed them the evidence I had gathered and explained the steps I was taking to protect my professional identity. They were incredibly supportive and helped me draft a professional email to send to key industry contacts, alerting them to the potential misrepresentation without publicly shaming my sister. My parents' reaction to all this was perhaps the most painful part. When the job offer to Emily was rescinded, they called me, furious that I couldn't just help her out this one time. My mother actually said, "Would it have killed you to just let her have this opportunity?" You already have a successful career. I tried to make them understand that what Emily was doing was fraud, and that, helping her out, would have made me complicit in deceiving an employer. They didn't seem to grasp the severity or the potential professional and legal consequences for both of us. You've always been selfish, my dad said. You got all the talent and opportunities, and now you won't even share your success with your sister. That comment revealed so much about their perspective. They weren't seeing Emily's actions as wrong, they were seeing them as justified because in their eyes, I had somehow taken more than my fair share of success. After that call, I decided to take a step back from my family. I told them I needed space and that I would be limiting contact until they could respect my professional boundaries. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was necessary for my mental health and career protection. I also consulted with my attorney again about next steps. Since Emily had actually secured a job under false pretenses, we had clear evidence of fraud. However, I was still reluctant to pursue criminal charges against my own sister. My attorney suggested a more formal legal warning that outlined specific instances of fraud and the potential consequences, which might be more effective than the initial cease and desist letter. While all this was happening, I discovered something that explained a lot about Emily's behavior. A former classmate of hers reached out after hearing about the situation through mutual connections. She revealed that Emily had been misrepresenting our relationship for years, often telling people she had taught me everything I know, or that she was the creative force behind my successful campaigns. This completely changed my understanding of the situation. What I thought was recent desperation was actually a long-standing pattern of deception. Emily hadn't just been trying to use my reputation to get her foot in the door, she had been actively rewriting our professional narrative to position herself as the more talented sister who just hadn't gotten the right breaks. With this new information, I realized I needed to be more proactive in protecting my professional reputation. 1. Created a professional website that clearly documented my career progression and portfolio. 2. Increased my visibility on professional platforms to ensure my legitimate work was the first thing people found when searching my name. 3. Asked colleagues to write recommendations that specifically mentioned projects I had led. 4. Consulted with a reputation management specialist to ensure my authentic professional identity remained prominent online. The past 2 months have been exhausting and heartbreaking. I've had to distance myself from my immediate family while working overtime to protect my professional reputation. The situation has forced me to recognize unhealthy family dynamics I had previously normalized. On a positive note, my company has been incredibly supportive. My boss even offered me an opportunity to lead a high-profile project that will help further establish my professional identity. I'm grateful for the colleagues and friends who have stood by me through this difficult time. I'm still hoping that Emily will eventually recognize the seriousness of her actions and make amends, but I'm no longer putting my career or mental health on hold while waiting for that to happen. I'll update again if there are significant developments. Thank you all for your support during this challenging time. Final update. It's been almost 6 months since my last update, and I'm finally in a place where I feel I can share how things have unfolded. So much has happened that it's hard to know where to begin, but I'll try to cover the most significant developments. After the formal legal warning and the job rescission incident, Emily seemed to back off from actively impersonating me. However, she and my parents continued to pressure me to help her, suggesting everything from joint projects where she could learn from me to introducing her as my partner to industry contacts. Each suggestion blurred professional and ethical boundaries, and I declined them all. About 3 months ago, I received a call from Thomas, an old colleague who now works at a prestigious agency in New York. He told me they had received an application from Emily that raised some red flags. While she wasn't directly claiming my work as her own anymore, she had listed me as a reference and implied we had collaborated closely on major projects. When Thomas called me to verify, I had to explain that we had never worked together professionally. This was a new approach on Emily's part, not outright impersonation, but still misrepresenting our professional relationship in a way that could damage my credibility if I didn't correct it. I realized I needed to address the root issues with Emily directly, without our parents involved. I invited Emily to meet at a coffee shop, and to my surprise, she agreed. I started by asking her honestly why she felt she needed to leverage my reputation instead of building her own. What came out was both illuminating and heartbreaking. "You don't understand what it's like to be your sister," she said. "Mom and Dad have compared me to you my entire life. Every accomplishment I've ever had has been measured against yours. When I chose marketing as my major, they were thrilled because Jennifer is doing so well in that field. They've never seen me as my own person." For the first time, I saw the situation from her perspective. While I didn't condone her actions, I could understand the pressure she felt. Our parents had created a dynamic where she believed the only way to gain their approval was to be as successful as me, or to be me. "I'm sorry they put that pressure on you," I told her. But impersonating me or misrepresenting our relationship isn't the answer. It puts both of us at risk professionally. To my shock, she broke down crying and admitted she knew it was wrong. She revealed that our parents had been pushing her to use the family connection since college, suggesting that since we had the same last name, people would assume we had the same talents and work ethic. What started as vague implications had escalated to outright impersonation with their encouragement. They kept saying it wasn't really lying, just strategic marketing of myself, she explained. Dad said it happens all the time in business. We talked for hours. By the end, while we hadn't resolved everything, we had reached a new understanding. Emily agreed to stop misrepresenting our relationship and to focus on building her own legitimate portfolio. I offered to help her identify her unique strengths and position herself in the industry in a way that didn't involve comparisons to me. The conversation with our parents was much more difficult. Armed with what Emily had told me, I arranged to meet them without Emily present. I laid out clearly how their comparisons and pressure had damaged both of us, pushing Emily toward unethical behavior and putting me in an impossible position. My father dismissed my concerns initially. We just want what's best for both our daughters. Emily needs extra help, and you're in a position to provide it. Encouraging her to commit fraud isn't helping her, I countered. It's setting her up for professional failure and potential legal consequences. My mother tried a different approach. Family should always come first, Jennifer. Your career will always be there, but family is irreplaceable. I agree family is important, I replied. That's why I'm not pressing charges against Emily for identity theft and fraud, which I would do with anyone else who stole my professional identity. That statement finally seemed to break through. For perhaps the first time, they realized the seriousness of what they had been encouraging. The conversation remained tense, but by the end, I had made my boundaries clear. I would maintain a relationship with them only if they respected my professional boundaries and stopped pushing me to compromise my career or ethics for Emily's benefit. The aftermath has been a slow, sometimes painful process of redefining our family relationships. My parents have scaled back their pressuring, though they occasionally still make comments about how I could do more to help Emily. I've become better at enforcing my boundaries when this happens. Emily and I have been working on developing a healthier sister relationship. She started therapy to work through her issues with our parents' expectations and her own professional identity. She's also exploring areas of marketing that differ from my specialization, which has helped her start building her own path. Professionally, I've continued to thrive. The high-profile project I mentioned in my last update was a major success, further establishing my reputation in the industry. I've been transparent with close colleagues about the impersonation situation, which has helped protect me from any lingering confusion. 6 months ago, I couldn't imagine maintaining relationships with my family while protecting my professional integrity. Now, while things aren't perfect, I can see a path forward. It requires constant boundary enforcement and occasional difficult conversations, but it's better than complete estrangement or professional compromise. The most important lesson I've learned through all this is that family loyalty shouldn't require sacrificing your integrity or identity. Real family support means encouraging each person to be their best authentic self, not demanding one person diminish themselves so another can shine. Thank you to everyone who has followed this journey and offered advice along the way. Your perspective helped me navigate one of the most challenging situations of my life while staying true to myself.